case. When you're buying a house, you can use your 401k and you don't get charged any penalties for it. Now, you do have to pay that back. You're basically borrowing money against your 401k, but there are no penalties on that, right? Hey, how's it going? Thank you for joining me on this week's episode of The Real Deal. This week, we're going to be talking about monthly payments, interest rates, and down payment assistance options. Interest rates over the last couple months have trickled upward, and this has a direct impact on down payment assistance programs. So the way it works, when you're using your own down payment, when you're purchasing a house, your own down payment, your own closing costs, you're always going to get the best possible interest rate based off of your credit score, right? And if you use down payment assistance, then you're going to get penalized. You're going to have a slightly higher interest rate, or in some cases, a much higher interest rate. And I'll explain that for using some of these down payment funds. So this is how these, down payment providers or these, these banks, that's how they recoup their money, by charging you higher than market rates. All right. So for sure, if you're looking for the most affordable option in terms of your monthly payments, it's going to be to pay for your own down payment. And I'll explain some of those options on how you can come up with your down payment. So I had a conversation with a client. They came in for a consultation, and we were going over, monthly payments. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm a huge advocate for down payment assistance. These programs have helped me build my business. I've helped out a ton of first-time homeowners. And if the situation makes sense, then I will always recommend that, right? But in this particular case, it didn't make sense. So this client, higher credit score, they're like at a 720 credit score, and they're looking at a higher price point. So that's key. They're looking at like a $550,000 price point. With conventional financing, you can go all the way up to like a $660,000 price point. With FHA financing, you're capped at around $460,000. So if you're looking at a higher price point, our only option is to go with conventional financing, which carries a higher penalty on the interest rate when you're using down payment assistance. And then on top of that higher penalty, when you make over the income limit of $62,000 a year, there's an additional penalty with the even higher interest rate. So this client, not only was it a higher purchase price, she also made over $62,000 a year. So for her, it just didn't make sense. The difference between using down payment assistance and not using down payment assistance was about $400 a month. So that's a huge difference. $400 a month is the difference between shopping at $500,000 and $580,000. That's how much $400 a month, translates to in terms of your purchasing power. You're going from $500 all the way up to $580, right? Or maybe you just want to stay at $500, but you want the lowest possible monthly payment. So I had a conversation with her. I said, look, if you were looking at a lower price point and you had a lower credit score and FHA really was the only option for you, FHA financing, then at that point, down payment assistance makes sense. And the reason why is with the FHA financing, you don't get penalized for making over $62,000 a year, and the interest rate is going to be lower than the conventional counterpart. So I said, look, you're looking at a higher price point. For you, it just doesn't make sense to use down payment assistance. And I kind of laid down her options. I said, look, this is what your monthly payment would be with down payment assistance. This is what your monthly payment would be without. And then she saw the difference. She's like, yeah, that's a huge difference. She had some money in her savings, but she also had some money in her 401k. And that's what brings me up to my next topic is the 401k funds that you can use to purchase a house if you're looking to get the best possible monthly payment or maximize your pre-qualification. A lot of people think that when you take money out of your 401k, you're going to get penalized with early withdrawal penalties, but that's not the case. When you're buying a house, you can use your 401k and you don't get charged any penalties for it. Now, you do have to pay that back. You're basically borrowing money against your 401k, but there are no penalties on that, right? So the early withdrawal penalties, I think, are something crazy like 35, 40%. That's not the case when you're using it to buy a house. Typically, you're allowed to borrow up to 50% of your 401k. It depends on the company. Every company is a little bit different. So I talked to her. I said, hey, look, let's compare these options, right? Let's say you use this down payment assistance program and you get $15,000 in down payment assistance. But your monthly payment is going to be about $400 higher per month. Now, what if you use your 401k to cover your down payment? Right? Yeah, you're going to have to pay that back through your payroll. However, once you're done paying it back, then that's it, right? It's gone. It's not stuck to your mortgage payment. As opposed to this down payment assistance option, that higher monthly payment is going to be stuck with you for the life of the loan unless you can refinance. But interest rates are going up. Right now, even though rates have gone up about 1% in the last 6 months, that's still a historically low rate. 6 months ago, 720 credit score, you can probably get a 3% interest rate on conventional financing. Right now, it's looking closer to 4%. Historically speaking, that's still a very low interest rate. However, they will continue to go up. They're going to be going up for a while, for the next couple of years, and eventually they'll come back down. But there's going to be a while before that happens, right? They're not going to go back down anymore. They're going to continue to trend upward for a couple of years. So we're looking at the options. I said, look, this would be the alternative, right? If you use your own down payment after you pay back that 401k money, then that's it. You don't have to worry about refinancing. You could lock in a low interest rate right now. And then when she saw the options, she said, you know what? Yeah, that makes more sense, right? And I get it. It's scary when you're taking on additional, debt, but it really isn't additional debt. When you're using your 401k, if you think about it, the way it works traditionally is you just stop earning money towards your 401k. Instead, whenever they take the money out of your check, now you're paying back that money that you borrowed for your down payment. So for this client, it just made sense to use these additional, methods, which is the 401k, to help supplement her down payment and her closing costs as well. If you have enough money to cover your down payment and closing costs, that's going to be the best strategy for you. In some cases, you might only have enough money to cover your down payment. In that case, there are options that I have with my lender where we can help cover some of your closing costs by slightly ticking up your interest rate. But in this particular case, the client was able to take out, more than enough to cover her down payment and her closing costs, right? And so you can see how, there's a lot of different scenarios, right? There's a lot of different ways that the conversation can go. And like I said, I'm a big advocate for down payment assistance if it makes sense. If you're looking at a lower price point, if you're looking at a $400,000 price point, you're looking at FHA financing, then it's a great option for you because you're not going to get penalized with, too much of a higher interest rate. It's still going to be higher. Don't get me wrong. Using down payment assistance right now, even for FHA, you're still going to be at a 5%. But it doesn't make that much of an impact as opposed to the conventional counterpart, which that was like at a 5.6%. There was a huge impact there. So, if you've been thinking about buying a house and you're trying to kind of structure it, your credit is solid, your income is solid, you have great job history, but you're trying to figure out the best option, I promise you, you can Google as much as you want. You're not going to get the answers that you're looking for. Reach out to me. Let's sit down. Let's have a conversation to find out which is going to be the best solution for you. I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you much and take care.